Hey guys, this is a video that nobody has been asking for because most people who've been watching my channel for a long time already know my position on this. It's years and years ago, though, since I had a video harshly condemning Vegan Gains for his threats of violence, for his having guns and knives on camera. And it's so long ago that back when I last discussed this, the main problem really was what he did on camera when he was playing a fictional character. And I did in part defend him that way, where I was saying, look, you can't judge someone's mental health, you can't judge someone's character or to what extent they're a threat when they're actually playing a fictional character in a comedy sketch. And I still stand by that. That's true of many of his videos. However, conversely, there's another genre of video you're about to see some clips from where Vegan Gains is very much speaking in the first person about his mental health problems, is who he really is. Now, to me, there are exactly two edges to this sword. There are two sides to this story. I think it's really positive that in the 21st century, people with serious mental health problems come on the internet and talk about them. That didn't happen in any other century. It didn't happen just a few decades ago. You didn't get the perspective of people who suffered things like hallucination. And Vegan Gains, I think, is doing something really positive by coming on the internet and talking about what it's like to be someone who suffers from hallucinations. Whatever his underlying medical condition may be, I don't know. I assume I will never know. Maybe he will get a diagnosis. I know he's had MRI scans done and that sort of thing. That's certainly very positive. Now, on the other hand, I think even if you just asked Richard this, Richard is Vegan Gains, if you described his symptoms that he has and you said, Richard, somebody else who has this checklist of symptoms and problems, do you think they should be stockpiling weapons? Do you think they should be carrying a knife when they go around town? Do you think they should be doing these things that you are doing by your own account, by your own description? If somebody with this checklist of symptoms was saying things on the internet, such as you've been saying in terms of making threats against people and so on, do you think that would be a problem? Now, I think just 1 year ago, I think he would have been kind of affable and self-effacing and would have said yes. He would have admitted it's a problem when people who are crazy, or even people who diagnose themselves as crazy, because again, to give him credit, he does diagnose himself as having some kind of serious mental disorder. I think 1 year ago he would have said that yes, it was a reasonable concern for someone with such serious mental health problems to be acting out in this way. Even if you believe in something like ergative therapy. Some people believe that it helps people who think about violence to actually act out this kind of violence, like, to go and stab a pillow or shoot a dummy. Some people believe in that. It is not very popular as a method of therapy or psychiatric treatment. Most people think that only makes it worse, that by acting out violent scenarios and violent urges, you're actually making the person more dangerous or more unhinged and less self-contained and self-controlled. But there are actually different theories about that. Some people consider that therapeutic. Maybe it's therapeutic for some people some of the time, but it's dangerous. It's a bad sign, we can say that. I think that just 1 year ago he would have been self-effacing enough to recognize, yeah, this is a problem. He would see it as a problem in others, and therefore he'd be willing to see it as a problem in himself. I think that today his political position has hardened. I know he's made videos lately that are repeating talking points from the pro-gun lobby from the 1980s that weren't even believable or credible in the 1980s. He's using tired old memes about, oh, well, the Nazis would have never come to power if only there were more guns in the streets of Berlin. And, that's sad in many different ways. It's sad partly because it just shows Vegan Gains and Ask Yourself have this in common. I don't think either of those guys have ever read a book. I mean, I don't think he's read one book on the history of what happened in Berlin when the Nazis rose to power. I don't think he's read one book that describes the gun violence that was on the streets, from corner to corner, from coffee shop to coffee shop, from pub to pub, in the years leading up to as part of the rise of the Nazis, and the role of gun ownership or guns being really available there. It's a lie built on a lie built on a lie, and it reflects a really kind of bad set of motivations on his part. But those political beliefs, which are his beliefs directed outward, I think in large part they reflect a self-justification directed inward that he doesn't want to deal with anymore, what I've just suggested, that if he applied rationally his own standards to himself, as he would apply them to another person in that situation, another person with the same symptoms, stockpiling arms, acting out on the internet, making threats on the internet the way he is, I think part of him feels a great sense of shame and guilt that he really does believe the police ought to intervene in those circumstances. He believes the police ought to intervene against him. And it's easier for him to subscribe to a kind of ersatz right-wing ideology, which I know he didn't believe in just 2 years ago, because I used to talk to the guy. He used to describe himself as a socialist even. It's not that long ago. He used to describe himself as quite left-wing on a number of issues and generally. But he's now putting together a bird's nest of bits and pieces of political ideology that are projected outward. Their claims about society, their claims about the world, but I think their real psychological function is projected inward. It's a self-justification in the strictest sense of the term.
À bas le ciel.
I just had to appear in court. The stupid thing with the police and them trying to ban me from owning any weapons, that's still going on. Problem is I'm still waiting for the psychiatric assessment from the psychiatrist, so I just had to explain to a judge that I have to wait on that assessment until they can kind of make a ruling on it. So the next court date is May 5th. So I just have to make sure that the psychiatrist I hired gets his report done by then. And then hopefully he thinks I'm not completely, absolutely insane. Hi everyone, today I just wanted to give a quick little mental health update. As some of you might know, I had a bit of a mental breakdown only a few weeks ago, hasn't been that long, and I had a bit of a panic attack. I was hallucinating, and it's primarily stress related, but I have been taking B12 injections to see maybe if it would help, maybe partly it was a B12 issue. But I did have another bit of a mental breakdown just a few days ago. I took a few days off of YouTube just to calm down and relax and deal with it. I was seeing really bright flashes of color and patterns, and I was hearing this ton of chatter and voices inside my head. It was like 100 people were talking to me at once, and it made it really fucking hard to concentrate. I was getting super nervous and I couldn't relax. I'm telling you this to give myself some accountability, because a problem that I have is just accepting and recognizing that I do have some problems that I need to deal with, because for the longest time, this type of shit was just a normal day for me. Yeah, hallucinating, freaking out, having anxiety, that was normal. And for somebody to come along and say, you really need to relax, calm down, change what you're doing, it's kind of weird and hard for me to take. This is my Bowie knife in here that they took. So I got that one back. So you might recognize that from Ninja Turtles. Raphael uses them and Elektra uses them. This is a extendo baton. I have another extendo. This is just. This is a larger extendo baton. This is the airsoft revolver that I had.
Now we can chop up people with this.
Yeah, chop up people and shoot their eyes out with the airsoft gun, because I'm a psychopath. Let's see. These are just. These, fake bullets are for the BB gun there. And here's Mr. Stevenson's big axe, because I don't know why the fuck they'd take an axe from me. I guess they figured I'm gonna go outside and chop people to death with a fucking axe because I'm an axe murderer. Carry a spoon with you just to build up your story. Just make sure you tell them it's for fruit.
How about I just take my gun and put...
It raises a lot of questions for police as to why no one reported him.
I gotta go down to some police lockup place and retrieve the shit they stole from me, like my hunting bow, BB guns.
And people already know that this kid was a problem. How do we just let him go?
This is Gary the Vegan Carburetor, and I want to put out a warning about vegan gains. We often don't act until it's too late. We just don't think it's going to happen. If you've been watching the news, you've seen that this is what people are talking about. There was another shooting, one of the biggest in the United States. And not only the media is talking about it, but Trump and other politicians saying that we can see the signs. Oh, and psychologists on TV. are saying people don't just flip out in an instant. But there are signs, and you know what those signs are? Having depression, having many weapons, and going around making threats. And that's exactly Vegan Gains.
I would talk to 100 million different people I could list off that are on the right. But I would never ever talk to Vegan Gains, because Vegan Gains is an actual piece of shit and he has no desire to actually have an intellectual conversation. All he wants is attention. All he wants is drama and controversy and to stir the pot without any actual, desire to have a legitimate adult conversation. So no, I will not debate Vegan Gains.
And what they were able to find was really disturbing items on his social media pages. The items about guns, different things he talked about, killing law enforcement. The police, they're wondering, why is it that when he expressed the words he used about killing, the pictures that he used of the weapons, why is it that no one went to police to report this?
Slit his fucking throat with this knife.
It raises a lot of questions for police as to why no one reported him. And the sheriff sort of stressed this tonight. He said, this whole idea of you see something, say something. And he kept talking about that.
This was the grouping I got at the shooting range.
I think the main problem is that our society is uncaring. We don't help people when they have a problem, and people are having more problems than ever, on every level: physical, mental, emotional, financial.
But that's not even because of his political stances. It's because of the way he carries himself and the way he speaks and the insults that he throws at people and the threats that he throws at people. And he's like a very angry person full of rage. He's like not a nice person in my opinion. So I'll talk to people who have different opinions. I will not talk to people who are belligerent. Yeah, but Onision and I had personal beef. Like, it was very personal about my, private life, and I felt the need to do that. He's never threatened to kill anyone.
I feel our government leaders should have done more over the years to protect your child and others.
If you have people with illnesses and people already know that this kid was a problem, how do we just let him go? Let him loose? The kids were joking, saying they knew about this kid.
So this recent shooter, the signs were all there, even on social media. He's made threats. You know the drill. And Vegan Gains has the same stuff. We've seen him make threats to people. And not only do a lot of people think he is a sociopath, he actually agrees with them. And this guy should be being watched. There should be something to try to prevent something from happening. Also, police often know of these shooters before the shooting, like the Las Vegas one. But they weren't able to prevent it. They weren't watching him on that day. And the police know Vegan Gains too. About a year ago, they confiscated his guns. And he won the court case and got them back. Well, the system is letting us down here. Now here's a clip of Vegan Gains actually talking about how to evade the police and throw them off track from the weapons he's carrying.
Get a nice good big knife. If you're gonna carry a knife like this, never ever 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 tell the cops it's for self-defense purposes. In Canada, it's illegal to carry a knife or any weapon for self-defense, so just make sure you tell them it's for fruit or some sort of practical utility purposes. Carry a spoon with you just to build up your story.
À bas le ciel.